All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck, and I'm along with my coworker, Jordan Bianchi, who is on site at Richmond Raceway, where he's just witnessed a, I guess, typical Richmond race.
That's it. That's exactly it. Like people are gonna be like, "Oh, you had a rant and rave about Richmond and this, and it was this, and it wasn't this." It's like, here's a question for you. What were you expecting coming in?
Exactly that.
Exactly it. And like, this coming in, you manage your expectations. Like it wasn't anything that you didn't think it was gonna be. I will say I thought the the strategy element is certainly interesting and I like it. Now I don't want it on a short track. I wish you could put this on like a Pocono or something like that. That would be better served. But this is what Richmond is. We've talked about this so much.
I know.
This is it's just I don't know. There's nothing to say about this because this is exactly to a T what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's like that Letarte that Steve, sorry, that
The
Letarte.
Letard.
The graphic that Steve Letarte puts up where he shows you what the strategy is going to be. It's like
Yeah.
the same. You could take that and probably apply it to like every one of the last, like, I don't know, at least it seems like 8 Richmond races or something. I'm sure I'm missing some, but it's like, okay, are they going to pit twice in
Yeah.
this stage, in the third
Do you
stage? Are they
split
going
the
to
stage
try
or do
to
you
do
go?
it
Yeah.
one? And yeah, obviously now it was so hot today and so worn out. Like the Truex strategy of trying to do it just one, it wasn't. It was like they were. I think they were kind of hoping like, oh, maybe Buescher's going to have to track him down. He's got 35 laps left or whatever to do it, and he just like immediately blows by him, and you're just like,
Yeah.
well, that was
Yeah.
that.
The other
Yeah,
thing I thought was interesting too was the one caution today, right? The Daniel Suarez spin, which was it 12 laps to
I
go,
think
I
10
think
laps to go.
whatever it was, right? There was no debate whatsoever. It was no four tires, two tires, do some guys stay out or anything like that. It was literally everybody needs to hit pit road right now, and you're getting four tires, and that's it. And that was just I don't get. I don't. This is what Richmond is at this point. I don't know what you can do to change it. I don't know if you need. Well, you do need to change it because yeah, I mean you do need to change it. Like it, but I don't know what realistically you can do. I mean, at this point, unless you're gonna rip up the racetrack and do something different, I don't know.
It's hard to come on here and be like and feel like you're talking about the same thing with every Richmond race, and I'm trying not to do that. My only point that I'll make is that I think that a lot of newer fans probably don't even remember or realize that
No.
this truly did used to be the action track. I started covering races at that track in 2004, and it was, double digit cautions every single time. It was my favorite track. I looked it up because I have this, nerdy race chart of how many times I've seen a cup race at each track. I've covered in person 28 cup races at Richmond. And I'm telling you, I guarantee you over the years, it has changed dramatically the type of racing we see. I see people go, oh, this is, old school Richmond. Like, well, I don't know what you're talking about old school, but like old school in the 2000, 2000s, 2010s, whatever, it wasn't like this. It was constant action and cautions and all the stuff that you would expect out of a short track. This doesn't race like a short track anymore, which is fine. Plenty of people I see on, I was going to say Twitter, but X, I guess.
I'm calling it Twitter. I'm not ready for this. It's too much.
Plenty of people who were Xing about this race.
That sounds dirty. That sounds very dirty.
Well,
Hey
whatever they're
man, you want
calling
to
it.
X later? No, I'm not doing that with you. No, put that away.
They seem to, some people are making the argument they love it. Oh, it's great. Oh, strategy, blah blah. And you asked Brad Keselowski the question in the post-race press conference. He went on this sort of impassioned speech about, oh, I love having the challenge of trying to figure out how to set your cars up for a long run or a short run. And I like the racers like it. Look, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. That's great that you like it. For me, this is not what I'm looking at out of short track racing in particular. Because it's a short track, because it's one of the few short tracks that NASCAR has, I want to see the action that we came to expect from the action track. And it's just different now. I get that. Look, I mean, again, you go less than the last probably 3 years of podcasts we've done about this race. but you're just like, yeah, what can you say? It's just, hey, at least it was an unexpected winner, right? I mean, or not somebody that we would have thought would, you're going to go into this race and you'd say, hey, it was going to be a Gibbs race or a Hendrick race or something like that.
Yeah. I thought Gibbs were going to blow the doors off everybody today.
Yeah,
Shows you what I know.
Ford had a good day overall. But yeah, I mean,
they
so I don't know. The racing, the track at this point, I don't know why. I mean, one thing that stuck out though, Jordan, is like they're talking how much about how they're having to tiptoe around the track, right, to save their tires because there's so much tire fall. Well, I think in some ways, if you're on a short track like that and you're having to tiptoe and conserve your stuff and you can't really race that hard, there's not going to be many incidents and there's not going to be many chances to have wrecks, which create restarts, which creates action and bunches everybody back up together. So, I mean, if Suarez and Gragson don't get into it there at the end, it's essentially caution-free race, except for the stages. So, but again, it's not surprising at all.
No, it's not. And I'm not somebody who needs a ton of cautions. Like the lack of cautions today didn't bother me because I don't mind that. I get it. That happens. But I want to see more side-by-side racing. That's the thing, is you want to see more passing. And I know there was guys who came from the back and came to the front.
There was a lot of passing. There was a lot of passing. I mean,
there was, but there wasn't a lot of passing up front.
But it's a different. It's not the type of passing where you're having these hard battles. It's the passing where somebody's on fresher tires or whatever.
Yeah,
or,
that's
the comers and goers type thing. But it's not like you're not watching these cars like super battle it out necessarily.
There isn't prolonged periods of side by side racing, and and that to me is like, oh man, and I don't know where. And this isn't a next gen car thing. This isn't a package thing because we have seen this with different cars. Like this goes back.
Truck race.
Yeah, I mean,
it was the same type of racing.
Yeah, exactly. So we've seen it with the Xfinity series. We've seen it with different things, and so it is a track thing at this point. And what is concerning is you look at this track. It's in a good market, I believe. It's a traditional NASCAR track. You don't want to see it go away, but it's hard not to see this today and see the crowds or lack thereof and say, hey, wait a second, where is, what can we be doing different here? How can we generate better excitement for this track and get people excited about this race? Because otherwise this isn't going to continue to happen. Like you can't have this. I know I do it all the time. I make fun of Texas a lot, right? I mean, Richmond isn't far off at this point, to be honest with you. Like it's not Texas level, no one is, but it's not that far off.
I just feel I really do love this track. I just feel like
I love everything about the great city. It's a great market.
I just don't know what I think it's very hard to sell, especially to the casual fan. Hey, come check out this race, and it's going to be almost all green flag runs, and there's a lot of strategy nuances and tires and when you pit and all this stuff. But that's sort of for the hardcore fan. But even the hardcore fans are like, all right, give me a little something more here. So it just sort of falls into this where, Dale Jr. tweeted after the race, Richmond may need some resin in the higher lanes. I've seen it help some other tracks. He's been a long advocate of put the sealer back, all this stuff. But I don't even know. It's not like, they have multiple lane options. They could pass. You saw drivers move through the field who had faster cars. So it's not like, oh, it's an arrow thing and, everybody's stuck behind everybody. It's just, I don't know. There's just not a lot happening. For the first time since 2018, every car finished the race. There was no mechanical failures, no cars getting wrecked out. And again, that's fine, but it's also sort of an indication of like, well, kind of like nothing really happened to create those
moments,
incidents.
Exactly.
Right. So
I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm really, really good at spending other people's money. And I think it's time to start seriously considering doing something dramatic here. In the fact
like
that
what everybody used, it's funny. Everybody used to want to build a Richmond. That's what people use, in a new market. Oh, we're going to go to Seattle and we're going to build a new Richmond. We're going to go to Denver. We're going to build a Richmond.
Yeah, 3/4 mile. You can race Indy cars there. You can race NASCAR there. You can build 120. I don't know how many seats they have here at one time. 100,000.
Oh, over 100,000 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do all that. And I don't know what the solution is, but it feels like at this point, fundamentally, because we've tried different cars, different variations of cars. We've tried different tire compounds. It feels like we have gone to the toolbox a lot. And I feel like the only thing you really have left to do is figure out something fundamentally with the track. I don't know what that configuration is. I don't want to lose another short track, so I prefer to keep it that way, as a short track. But this is something has got to be done because it's getting you to the point where your relevancy is on the line here.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate these podcasts where I have to come on and
I do too. I don't
I
like
feel
this.
like I'm being negative, and the people that did like the race are like, man, shut up. You guys are whining and complaining, but like, sorry, I don't know, man. It's just
I like the strategy aspect. I like races like this. I like it. I was talking to so many crew chiefs today and yesterday about they love this race because it really lets them have an impact on a race that they don't always get to have, and they get to really kind of be I know Letarte, you've got the playbook, it's either you're going to split the stages in half or you're going to two stop it, but you do have options. You can do a lot of different things. That's great because you don't always see that, but I don't know that strategy type race is not conducive to, like you said, Jeff, a short track. It's just not.
Yeah. Sorry, I just, especially again, like, yeah, it's you reconfigure it. What do you do? I just don't know. I'm like you though. I don't want it to go away because I feel like, given that we've known the history over the years, like it can be good there, but it's gone so many years now with, just sort of tame racing. It's just like, what do we?
And the farther you get away from the quote unquote, I don't know, glory days, whatever you want to call it, like this is becoming more synonymous with Richmond than those moments. And that's dangerous because it's really hard to reverse course and and change that public perception of, oh no, we're not that track anymore. Like, no, we've got that excitement and this and that. Now it's gonna be done. Michigan has done it. I guess Pocono probably has done it to some degree in some other places, but it's really hard to overcome that narrative because once you get that stigma, good luck shaking it.
Well, and here's another thing, right? Like the fact that it has 2 races a year like this that are very similar.
That's the problem.
And if like, let's say it was 1 race a year, and I'm not advocating for fewer short tracks on the schedule. I wish something would just happen to make this better. But this race, like, again, you go into it, whether it's the Fox portion with Larry Mack saying this is what the strategy is going to be, or like Letarte, like I talked about earlier, it's like, okay, this is how it's going to lay out. Probably not going to be many cautions. It's exactly how it unfolds. It's exactly how it races. And I mean, it's sort of like even they get the late caution and we're messaging each other like, oh, here's where the chaos is going to come right now. It's going to be
chaos, baby.
And it doesn't happen.
It didn't. I thought we were going to. I thought Kyle Busch was going to send it in there. I thought maybe Denny Hamlin might do something. And credit to Chris Buescher, by the way, he won the race. We should maybe talk about him in a minute. But like, credit to him, like he executed perfect on that restart, did everything he needed to do, and it was just like it was like, wait a second, no dive bombing into turn 1, no one getting crazy. They were racing 3 wide. I'm like, oh, here it comes, and it didn't happen.
Well, you mentioned Chris Buescher, and we should definitely talk about him. He absolutely 1000% deserved to win this race today.
100%. Yeah.
And really, it's been sort of a weird season for him in that he's by far having his best career year. So right now his average finish is down to 13.5. He's 13th in points. Previously, his best career average finish was 17.3. So he's almost 4 places higher than his best career average finish. He's already got the most top 10s the most top 5s he's ever had in a year. He needs 1 more top 10 to tie his career high. He's going to end up with career highs in almost every conceivable category. He's close to his career high for laps led. He's having a great year, but he and Keselowski at RFK Racing have run so well and so consistently. We really haven't talked about them because they're not contending for wins, right? So they're like getting top tens, but they're also running so well they're not close to the playoff bubble. They've both been like 100 points to the good for a while now. And so it all, we always talk about, the playoff bubble guys, and we talk about the winners and the regular season champion and the final four. They're right in the middle of this, right? So they just sort of quietly go on and, get another 8th to 12th place finish or whatever. And, they're having a great year. Like they've made huge strides, but like they get totally overlooked because they're just sort of in this middle zone of like, hey, yeah, you guys are in the playoffs. Yeah, we don't really need to discuss. There's no drama around them, right?
They just quietly go, and that's the thing. Like they're both pretty quiet personalities. Like they don't really, Brad isn't the old Brad anymore. He doesn't say a lot of things. He's not involved in a lot of controversies. They just kind of go about their business. They stay underneath the radar. They don't get involved in things on the racetrack. They just do their thing and and they're quietly effective. And it's been interesting to watch them build and get better. You could see this really kind of start really to take effect last fall when Chris won at Bristol and Brad almost won there as well. And they've carried it over and they're just good. And it's been interesting to see. And I started working on it's funny. I'm not take credit for Chris's winning, by the way, this weekend. I want to tell you why. Okay. I started working on a story this weekend about Chris that's going to run going into Indy Week about how he's really kind of overlooked. Like no one talks about him, but he's one of the best road course racers out there. And like Kevin Harvick talked about him glowingly, Joey Logano, like all these drivers, like, yeah, like it's like he's great. He does all of these things well. He runs everywhere and he's never been great equipment. And that's kind of Chris's thing. He's always maximized wherever he's at, like whether it was at front row or whether it was at JTG, and now rebuilding RFK, he's always squeezed out the absolute most out of his stuff. And he's always been someone who's always been talked about. This guy, this is the guy who beat Chase Elliott for the Xfinity Series championship. People forget about that. Chase won that Xfinity Series championship, came back to defend it, and Chris beat him for it. And that's impressive. And he's just never been an opportunity. But now, as RFK is building, and it's like, whoa, they're getting really good cars. And Brad is Brad. We know what Brad is. And it's like, Chris is going to have an opportunity here really to showcase himself. And it's going to be interesting to see what he can do because he is a guy, whether it's on a road course or super speedways, because we always talk about him there, or short tracks. It's like he can kind of run just about everywhere, run well everywhere.
He's a really, really good race car driver. He really is super solid. But again, yeah, like you said, just gets totally overlooked. Part of it's his personality, right?
Yeah,
like not flashy at all. But like at the same time, RFK's definitely taking a step forward, right? Like they're gonna have both cars in the playoffs, which is great for them, especially in a down year for Ford overall.
Yeah.
Bob Pockrass, speculating, not speculating, but he was questioning after the race on his video that he did, maybe RFK is even the best Ford team at this point. Stewart-Haas had their struggles. Penske hasn't really done much. I think that's, they've definitely taken a step up. But that said, like, okay, they're going to make the playoffs, but like, what can they really do? Like, how far, what can they really do in the playoffs? I mean, Buescher, he won Bristol last year with Keselowski coming close to winning that. So like, yeah, that's the first round cutoff race. Maybe they could somehow go there and run well enough and, avoid trouble, make the second round. But I can't see them making either of them making the round of 8. So it's like,
really? You don't think so?
No. How are they going to make the round of 8?
Oh my! I'll tell you how. Like okay. I think they absolutely could. I think one of them I think they have a good chance. I mean, obviously,
like Keselowski's going to win Talladega or something.
Well, they both run really well in super speedways, right? They both, Chris especially runs really good on the road courses. You look at his string of top 10 finishes, the number of top 10s he has. Like getting out of the round 16 is about avoiding mistakes. It's about letting everyone else self-destruct, and you can do that. That's fine. I don't think that's an issue. I think round of 12 is very much on the table. It's going to be interesting. I think the big thing for them is going to come down to Texas. It's their intermediate track speed, which is where Ford has kind of struggled this year at times, though Blaney won at Charlotte. If they can go and run well there, yeah, I think it sets up well where I don't think it's inconceivable that one of them can get to the round of 8.
Okay. So it's interesting. Ford was not, as we mentioned, necessarily on my radar for this race today. Hendrick in the spring ends up finishing 1-2. And really, I mean, that Byron wasn't one of those two cars, but Byron ran well there. And then this is typical, you know, it's been often been like a Toyota track over the years, it's felt like. And but Ford today, I mean, between the SHR cars having speed all race, even enough to overcome mistakes like Eric Almirola and Preece both made mistakes and were able to overcome them. I mean, for SHR to have all 4 cars in the top 11, and then Hendrick, no cars in the top 12. Their highest finisher was 13th with Chase Elliott. It just makes me think, well, wait a minute now, like, because you mentioned too, like Hendrick at Loudon, which is, you know, has some similarities to this, and Phoenix, Gateway, you can kind of put them somewhat in the same group. So if we're looking ahead to the Final Four, all of a sudden it's sort of like, well, if I don't know that a Ford can make it that far, but if they do, like if you're going up against some Hendrick cars, because right now I don't, Hendrick on the short tracks, you're kind of like, what's going on? Ford, if some Ford can somehow make it to the Final Four, that could really be like, they have enough speed.
Right.
That could be an upset out of nowhere, you know?
100%. And you go back to Martinsville, the spring race at Martinsville this year, which again, there's similarities, not 100% carbon copy. Who were the dominant cars there? It was Ryan Preece and Stuart Chase Briscoe was up there. And those were the guys that were fighting for the win. And Ryan again had a really fast car today. Now he's not going to make the playoffs more than likely, but to your point, like we've picked apart Ford so many times this year, but then when you dissect it, you're like, wait a second, like where's that Martinsville's the last cut. If they can get some drivers in the final 8, Martinsville is that last race, and then you never know. And then, as you said, go to Phoenix. You know, why not?
Harvick with the walk-off championship to conclude a winless final season, but he somehow does enough in the final race, doesn't win it or something, but like finishes second or third and retires with a championship.
That is the track where he's dominated.
Yes, right.
Can we have him like sending somebody in the wall too? Like finish, like they're fighting for third place and he sends somebody into the wall and cooks them. And
there you go. Doesn't care anymore. Hey, I'm retiring. This is my last race. Good luck getting back at me.
Yes, yeah. I love it. Love it.
But it is weird though. Like some people were like, okay, well, yeah, Hendrick has struggled a little bit, but I mean, just the last Richmond race though, like I said, they were doing quite dominant. Yeah, Chevy had a great day there. So that wasn't that long ago. I mean, I guess it was a few months ago.
Though. I mean, like
wasn't that in April?
It was in April, but a lot's changed. I mean, Toyota is much different than they were at that time. And yeah, Ford was really good today, and they won the race, and then a lot of guys finish up there. But Toyota, I mean, Reddick, Wallace, Hamlin were all in the mix. Truex at the end had one of the fastest cars. What a weird day he had, by the way. They were all up there. But Toyota it has really come on strong. And yeah, there are still times when the Hendrick Chevys look strong and they look competitive, but there's also a lot of times lately where we're talking about like, where are these guys? And
I mean, look a few weeks ago we were talking about Byron had just taken over the points lead, and Byron, it's a Byron type season or whatever. Byron is now fallen to third in points. Hamlin is now second in points. So
I didn't realize that.
Truex, Hamlin, Byron, and then Bell is still fourth in points. So JGR has 3 of the top 4 in the regular season point standings right now. Kind of.
I mean,
and then Chastain has fallen all the way to 7th now.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody today with Trackhouse and kind of an overall thing, and they're like, our cars are just not fast.
What the heck happened?
I don't know. I mean, it's what we talked about, which is the season is a roller coaster. It is ups and downs, and it's all of this. And and I say it all the time, when you have speed in your race cars and you are contending, you need to take advantage of it because it is going to disappear at some point. Somebody's going to pass you, and you're going to fall back the pack. That is how it always is. No one ever stays on top. and they don't have speed in their race cars right now. It's a Chevy. You could say it's a Chevy thing if you want to include Hendrick in there. And RCR has been up and down at times, though Kyle was good today on a track that their short track program is not good. They were good today. So it's interesting. But there was a time, like you said about Byron, and I'm looking at his numbers, and 24th at Loudon, 14th at Pocono, 21st at Richmond. That's not numbers. I mean, it's not numbers that really speak to a team going in the right direction. Now a lot can change, but yeah, right now, I don't know. Who would you have in your championship for? I mean, like right now, knowing what we know today, if the championship was next Sunday in Phoenix, your championship for who?
I mean, I still feel like Truex and Byron.
Okay.
I guess I think Hamlin is running better lately.
Yep.
I think Hamlin, plus he's sort of at the point where like he's decided he's just going to take it.
Yeah.
If he's in a situation, he's just going to take a win. So, that could be a good mentality in the playoffs if it doesn't come back to bite him. So Hamlin, I guess I'd put in there. I think Larson's still running well enough overall. I mean, I'm not going to put, Kyle Busch in ahead of Larson or Logano in ahead of Larson. So yeah, I think I have 2 Hendrick guys, 2 JGR guys, which is a boring answer, but I don't know. What do you have?
Truex and Hamlin are my 2 for sure. After that, I don't know. I don't have 2 clear-cut guys. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and right now, Brad's running pretty well. And if we're talking championship, like he finished 5th at Loudon, and he comes here and backs us up and leads 100 and some laps today. That team is going in the right direction, and that's impressive to me. If he can get in, we'll probably talk about him next. We chase Elliott. I mean, I know this is going to sound bad because I've said I don't. Look at his average finish. His average finish is really good. And so why couldn't he top 10 it to death? He's done it before in the playoffs. And so
He's just not running well enough.
he's
I mean,
running.
everybody was thinking today, like, oh, he had a great qualifying effort. Hendrick was great at Richmond. The car that was his car, Josh Berry's car, in the spring finished second. Now, some of that was circumstances, but still. And then, Elliott ran, again, the best of the Hendrick cars today, but, it's like ultimately he finishes 13th. So it's like he did take some points off. I mean, he sort of revived that conversation a little bit because now he's only 40 back with 4 races to go. But I don't know. I mean
Byron's a good pick, but they're not running.
Nobody's
running
super consistent. But I tell you
what,
the
only 2 guys I have any confidence in right now are the teammates of Truex and Hamlin.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Now, you want to talk about top 10ing people to death. I mean, don't forget Harvick.
That was the other one on my list too. Was like that's the thing of they just keep doing this every single week.
You just trust them so much to maximize whatever they can get, to play the strategy right, just to do what they need to do. They're the ultimate veteran professionals, right? Like they're like taking what it gives them and doing the best they can with it. It's not wins, but I mean, Kevin Harvick is 6th in points, and all we talk about is how down SHR is this year. So, but going back to the Chastain point though. So remember now, I mean, we're talking about, okay, like, oh, you're saying the Trackhouse cars just don't have the speed, like they've lost speed. I mean, they won a race this month. The Chicago race was this month. That was a back-to-back wins for them with Nashville and Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Well, yeah, you're right. Chicago, the street course. Yeah.
So, but for Chastain, so he wins Nashville, and it's like, oh, there he is again. Like everybody wrote off Chastain, because he got, the whole Kansas the whole Darlington thing, and he got the reins pulled back on him, and he goes out and he wins Nashville. So it's like, okay, I guess they do have speed. But then since then, he's gone 22nd, 35th, 23rd, 13th, 24th. So he went all of July without a top 10. That's 5. There was 5 races in July, and he has no top 10s. So That's not great for a person that we really, I mean, we were talking championship 4 a lot earlier this season for him. So, and Suarez now is really going the wrong direction as well. He was right in the playoff mix, right in a playoff spot for a while now. He keeps slipping back. He's down to 19th in points. So Chase Elliott is only 6 points behind. When the whole Elliott conversation started, it was Suarez that he was trying to catch. Now he's only 6 points behind Suarez, but unfortunately, there's other drivers ahead of him. McDowell, Ty Gibbs, Allmendinger. By the way, well, first of all, there's a lot to talk about on this part, I guess, but the Allmendinger thing. What the hell? What the hell are they thinking? What was that? Like, okay, we are having a remarkable season. Like AJ Allmendinger, a driver that we thought is only going to be able to win his way into the playoffs on a road course, not point his way in, not really do that well in ovals, whatever. He climbs, I think, from 28th in points to 17th.
20 points out.
He was 17 points out, wasn't he?
I thought he was 20, but either way.
No, I think he was 17 points out, I want to say. Anyway, so then they go, okay, wow, he's gotten all the way there. You know what? Let's have him go to Road America, and which is fine. But the problem with going to Road America is then he can't practice and qualify his car, so he's got to start in the back. Well, everybody goes, well, he can overcome that. I mean, he probably wasn't going to qualify that well anyway. Okay, well, what about practice?
You're right. It was 17 points, by the way.
What about getting in your car and saying, oh, you know what, guys, I didn't like this. This is too loose for me. Derek Kraus, like nothing against him, but he's not going to be able to translate exactly what AJ wants out of the car.
Never made a start in a cup car before.
So what? If people like, well, like Allmendinger is saying on the Zoom, like, well, not everybody's going to understand this, but we do. I'm like, what's the? I just don't. Okay, let's say he didn't win the Road America race, right? But let's say he did. Okay, like you won a Road America race, but whatever the money that you would get from that, the trophy, it's not going to be as much as being in the top 16 in Cup, which, correct me if I'm wrong, makes a difference of like millions of dollars.
Millions.
Right?
Millions. So
for a team that's like being very public right now about, oh, we really need
sponsorship.
And partners. One thing that might help is making the Cup Series playoffs. You're only 17 points out. McDowell had a bad day today. McDowell finished 22nd, and he gained points on the cutoff. Like, what a missed opportunity, I feel like. Now, okay, Allmendinger, he finished 27th. If he had been there for practice and qualifying, would he have done better? We don't know. But you got to give it a shot, don't you?
At least that's the thing. You have to try. You don't know. And I get it. I get the argument of, hey, we've sucked on our short track packages suck. Let's try something different. It's not going to really, we're going to qualify poorly anyway. I get all that, but you never know. I always say that. You never know. You at least got to try. You got to put yourself in a position to at least hopefully get lucky, right? You go there, maybe you hit on something. Maybe it's your day. Maybe it's a thing where we saw in qualifying when there was a lot of crew chiefs that were promoting this of the draw and how if you went out early in qualifying, you weren't going to do well in qualifying because of the track conditions.
Oh, the disparity in the two groups was massive this week.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get a break and maybe you qualify well. And then things just kind of go your way. And who knows? You never know. And by doing that, though, by doing what they did, you take yourself out of that position and you're starting in the back on a track where more than likely there are going to be long green flag runs. It's not like this is a place where you're going to get a bunch of cautions. It's easy to get back, track position. And by the way, we talked about earlier, you can't do anything with your strategy. It is 4 tires almost every single time because of the tire wear. Now you can try with different when to pit, not to pit, but you're still kind of limited. It's hard to gain track position. Here's my point. So you're already knowing that. Like, what are you doing? if they just didn't think they were going to get in points and they're looking at this, go, we still got Michigan, we got Daytona. Okay, sure, I
And two
guess.
road courses.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting to though. And I think the strategy is their mentality is we're still on the road course or bust. Like it's
But they didn't
walking
have
score.
to. That's
That's
the
the point.
thing.
That's the thing. They didn't have to. I get it. I get it. Your strategy is we're going to go to Watkins Glen where AJ's won before and we're going to have a shot there. Yes, you're right. You got a good shot to win, but things happen and you may not win. And you're going to go to Indy where he's won before and you're going to have a shot again. Things happen, you may not. But put yourself in a position where if you don't win, at least you have a fighting chance. And now you threw points away. What are they at now coming out of here?
He is 22 back, so he only
Okay,
lost
they
5 points.
but that's 5 points. We've seen
Yeah.
guys fail. That's everything. That can be everything. And maybe it doesn't matter. And you go to the road courses, you win stages, and you put yourself in position it could do. Well, you know who also runs really well in road courses?
Michael
Michael
McDowell.
McDowell. You know who's runs really well in super speedways? Michael McDowell. And like I don't
And
like
Ty
it.
Gibbs, who you're now
Yeah.
behind in the standings because he passed you in the standings today.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was a weird.
it,
That was a really weird.
and again, I'll go back. I think it's a moot point ultimately because I do think we're going to get somebody who wins a race. I do think we're going to get a winner at Indy or Watkins Glen or Daytona, and they're going to punch their ticket. But I just don't like that mentality of we're just who I've never seen this done before ever.
No,
I don't.
not for a team that's this much in contention for a playoff spot on points. This is the oddest of years where somebody needs to go back and check on this at this point because now we're getting pretty close to this truly happening. And I'm sure maybe it's happened not long ago, whatever. But like, when's the last time in this playoff format in particular has it ever happened that every single regular season winner was 16th or better in points? You know, people won. Buescher wins today, and I saw some tweets or Xers or whatever they call it now.
Just stay with tweets.
Okay, tweets that people are like, oh, what's this do to the playoff cut line now that Buescher won? Well, he's in. He's spent 13th in points before today. Now he's 13th in points after today. So 4 races to go. You still don't have anybody from outside the top 16 who's won this year. I mean, actually, you don't even have anybody from outside the top 14 because Stenhouse is the lowest in points of the winners with his Daytona 500 win, and he's still solidly. He would be making the playoffs anyway. You have the answer?
I mean, I think so, sort of. In 2020, I mean, ask your question again. I think this might be the number. I think it's.
Was there anybody that year outside? So what I'm saying is the playoff cut line has not been moved up.
Yeah.
So was there anybody that year who would not have made the playoffs without a win? You know, the top 16 was the top 16 because right now everybody talked about it's a win and in format, right? And it is. Sure. But right now, if you took away the win and in part and it was just top 16 on points, like they used to do the old chase with the top 10, it would be that the top 16 or the top 16. There's no. So that's pretty rare, is what I'm saying, because usually you have at least one guy who's like, oh yeah, like the year Almirola won New Hampshire or whatever, right? Like he wasn't in the top 16 when he won. And it was like, wow, he just stole a playoff spot. He took a playoff spot, you know?
This is going to take a lot more work than I have time for, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, somebody can do it. There's a lot of these young writers now, like Steven Stump from Front Stretch. I see he's got all sorts of stats ready.
I'm impressed.
Like he had this stat today where, because it looked like it was going to be a race with no natural cautions.
There.
And then he had a whole list of all the races with exactly one natural caution, like the 19 races, you know, since whatever, with like he immediately had it. So I've seen some of the younger writers from Kicking the Tires. They have this whole database of stuff that they work on. Like here's penalties and how NASCAR reacted. So I'm sure somebody is keeping these stats somewhere. They'll tweet us, but anyway.
2019, there was 15. There was only one guy outside of the cutoff who won a race that year. That makes sense. That was Justin Haley, and he wasn't playoff eligible.
Well, he's not. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
well, you could say that for Shane Van Gisbergen this year.
Yeah,
but he's not eligible, so it doesn't count.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about full-time guys that move up the playoff line. But anyway,
yeah,
it's not that important. I was just saying.
Nah, I'm gonna fall down a rabbit hole now.
So yeah, what I was just talking about the playoff bubble. I'm just looking again here. I tell you what, who really helped himself today, though. Ultimately, he only finished 12th, but stage points really helped. But Bubba Wallace, he's not even really close at this point to the playoff cut line. He's now 36 points ahead of McDowell, and remember they were like tied for the last spot, 2 weeks ago. And so Bubba has completely vaulted himself up. So now if there is a new winner, Bubba's still probably going to be pretty good, barring disaster. And he's also good at Michigan coming up. He's not good at road courses, but obviously good
better
at
road courses.
Yeah, but not as good as McDowell and Allmendinger. But anyway, if you're him, you have to feel much better about your performance recently. If you just go to Michigan and do what you're supposed to, I mean, just run top 10 even, that's a great day. That gets you so much closer. So the Elliott thing, like I can't go back now and say, oh, told you, because I already agreed with you. So I can't keep harping on it and say, oh, well, now he's in, he could do it after all, Jordan. I'm bringing it back. He's got to get 10 points a week. But just to check with you, are you still feeling like no way he points himself in?
Can I go completely contrarian now and then go, oh, no, you know
you
what?
Can't. No, you can't reverse.
I can't balance it?
No, I'm asking you to see if you will, but you can't.
I mean, he's only 40 out. I mean, he's only 40 out. I mean, and
what are you doing? You can't say this.
He's going against guys who are self-destructing on a week, McDowell today.
So now you buy it? Now you're going this direction? Are you really doing this? You are trolling me. You are absolutely trolling me. You are being willfully obtuse.
No, I mean, I stand by what I said. I think 40 points. I did, because it's 40 points. And if you could tell me, same thing, you could tell me he's going to go out and run what he's capable of doing, which is finishing in the top 10 and finishing getting stage points, then yes, he can make that up in a hurry. But there's two things. One, I think we're going to have a surprise winner. And if we get a surprise winner, that cut line moves. And so then you're more behind. And two, there's no guarantees that we don't, the team's track record this year, while they're finishing, their average finish is second best in the series, only behind Martin Truex Jr. They don't have the record this year of they inspire confidence that they're going to go out and be able to do this. And we talk about road courses with Chase, and yes, he's very good on the road courses, but as he will tell you, he hasn't won a road course race in the next gen car. His road course excellence came in that old car. This is much different. So I think he can make it interesting, especially if he goes to Michigan next week and things happen. But at the end of the day, I think his best path is win. You have to win.
Tell you what, if he goes to Michigan, scores stage points in both stages, I'm thinking that, McDowell probably doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And then let's say Elliott gets a top 10. What's McDowell going to do at Michigan? Basically you're saying, can Chase freaking Elliott, future NASCAR Hall of Famer, former champion, outrun Michael McDowell in Front Row Motorsports by 40 points over 4 races?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't. And with Michigan, which is a track is tailor-made for Hendrick Motorsports.
The only thing is, again, you've got 2 road courses and a super speedway in there.
That's the thing.
So,
you got 3 wildcard tracks, and you aren't necessarily in the control of your fate at those places.
I really don't think you keep saying surprise winner though, but where's this surprise winner coming from?
I'm saying a guy like Allmendinger, a guy at Allmendinger goes and wins at Indy or Watkins Glen, which is very much on the table. That changes it. That changes things very much. And say what you will about Ty Gibbs, but I've kind of rode the Ty Gibbs bandwagon through the summer. I feel like, and I've kind of touted him up and said I think he could win along the way. Like I wouldn't be shocked. He goes to Michigan and wins a race. There are guys I could make a case for.
Nah,
And
I know you said Ty Gibbs is going to win. I don't think he's going to win. I do think he can make the playoffs. I definitely do think he can make the playoffs, but I don't think he's
what
going to
about
win.
like Austin Cindric? We overlook him a lot, but why couldn't he go to Indianapolis and
He's
win?
doing nothing.
But we're talking road courses though, man.
He
We're talking,
hasn't done anything on a road course recently, has he?
I had to go back and look at his numbers, but the track record's there.
Yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing about like Briscoe and stuff, but I mean, you have to. It's one thing to run well, like with Priest today, right?
Yeah.
It's like Priest had his first top 10 of the season today, and it was a 5th place finish. He ran great, and it was like that's about like as good as they could get. Like he was running 3rd for a while, but even running top 5, the difference between running top 5 and actually winning the race, that's a big gulf. It's really, really hard to do. So yes, could somebody do it? Could somebody run well at these places? Sure. But
Cindric finished 6th at Chicago. He finished 6th at Coda this year on road courses.
But wasn't he one of the ones where they flipped it at Chicago and he was the beneficiary of that?
I couldn't speak to that one way or another confidently.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. But I hear what you're saying, and you're right. But you could say the same thing about Chase Briscoe last year and Eric Jones. And honestly, you could say the same thing about Chris Buescher last year at Bristol. Like there are numerous instances.
Last year was a one of a million, one of a kind year that we'll never see again unless there's another new car, which there probably will be. So I guess I shouldn't say we'll never see it. We'll never see it again until there's another new car. And it's completely wide open for everybody and whatever.
But I mean, this is a little bit of a reach, but I think it's worth the example. Is we talked about going into Charlotte this year. Fords are out to lunch on intermediate tracks. They're not competitive. This, and this. What happened? Ryan Blaney went there. I think he led the most laps, and he beat William Byron straight up. And like we walked out there, like, whoa, we didn't see this coming. It can happen. And so, do a lot of things have to go right? Absolutely. Do you have to be perfect? Yeah, you do. And you really aren't afforded a lot of. You can't have. There's no margin of error. But I do think it's conceivable where a Cindric or an Allmendinger, or throw Briscoe in there, could go and shake things up a little bit. I'll throw Suarez in there too.
That would be a jaw dropper, any of those, at this point, to shake the playoff picture up, just because it doesn't feel like the season's going that way. But it's possible. It's possible.
So,
well, what else should we talk about from this race, or anything that jumped out to you? Because there's a couple other things to talk about in around the NASCAR world. Well, for one thing, some news sort of came out of nowhere, at least to me, this week, that the CW is going to be the new home of the Xfinity Series starting in 2025. Exclusive, showing all the races, practice, qualifying, paying $110 million a year, according to Sports Business Journal. So it goes from, it looks like the Xfinity Series might be streaming only series. We're like, it's going to be completely behind a paywall and all the stuff. And what's that going to be like? To the complete opposite, where it's going to be as free can be. Like, you don't even have to log in on the CW's app. It's over the air network. You can buy an antenna. You can see every race. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, I can't tell you the last time I watched the CW. No apologies to the people that watched the 100 Days of Indy docuseries on that channel. I'm sure it was a great series. I meant to watch it, just didn't have time. But yeah, I don't watch the CW. So I'm not saying that people are going to be flipping through the channels. It's not going to be one of those things like, well, what's on today? Oh, what's on the CW? Oh, NASCAR, I guess I'll watch this. But that doesn't seem the point. They're getting a lot of money for it. And you would hope that trickles down to the Xfinity teams. And it's going to give them very much their own identity, because they're only going to be on the CW, right? Like, it's not going to be Cup also or whatever. So you'll have their own broadcast, in theory, broadcasters and all that stuff. So what was your take on all that?
Yeah, I was surprised. I think it's interesting. that they're doing this because it goes from one extreme to the other. Because when word kind of trickled out that NASCAR was considering this all streaming option, there was a lot of team owners in the garage that were like, we better be getting a lot of that money because we're going to need it because our sponsors aren't going to be happy. They're not going to get on TV anymore. They're not going to get the exposure. And frankly, the ratings aren't going to be there. And so we're going to need a lot of that. And to now it's, whoa. And I talked to a couple team owners about it and they're like, hell yeah, we can go sell this. This is exciting. Like we can go out there and like, I can tell my sponsors that we're going to be on, their carriage is on like 100%, I think. Like we know we're going to be everyone. If you have TV, live TV, you've got CW, and that's a huge thing. And I think it's incredible. I think it does give the series some identity. It's going to be interesting to see how CW positions it and see how NASCAR positions this. Is when you watch an Xfinity Series race in the CW, are you even going to hear about Cup Series races the next day on the same track? I don't know. We don't know. We're gonna see how this plays out. I think it's interesting, and I think from the perspective of if you're NASCAR, I think it's a worthy flyer because this is your number 2 series, and yeah, the ratings for this are really good. Comparably to other motorsports, it does really well. But if you're gonna try something like this to kind of dip your toe in the water and see if this is an option down the road, kind of for your next TV deal beyond the one they're negotiating now, I think it's good. And I think what CW is doing is following a blueprint that other sports networks, primarily what Fox, Big Fox, did in the 90s when they were a startup. And for a long time, they were viewed as this little, like, annoying pissant network, and no one watches anything on Fox. It's just, whatever. Well, they did is they went and got the NFL, and that helped them become a player. And I mean, I'm not saying the Xfinity Series is going to turn ECW in there, but it's part of what they're doing overall. Whether it's golf, whether it's college football, whether it's now NASCAR, this probably isn't going to be the last thing they go do. I think this is a good building block to see kind of help cushion it or kind of help put the foundation down. I think it's a good move if the number is what we think the number is. And I had a conversation today with somebody who was very involved in the discussions. And they were very, very happy with the number. And so, yeah, I think I think this is a good move. I don't see, frankly, a lot of downside. I really don't. I mean, you can say people are going to bemoan like, oh, I don't know what the CW is. How am I going to find it? Well, it's a freaking TV Guide. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. This is a free thing. Like this isn't like it's a channel you have to go surf for. This is a free thing. And by the way, they have a free streaming option. Like I think this checks a lot of boxes.
NASCAR continues to be in a really good position because live sports, it's the one thing again that people don't DVR for the most part. I'm sure some people do, I get it, but you're going to sit down and you're going to have eyeballs on your channel. So what does that mean? What does that mean to get, what you're talking about? The CW president or whatever, I'm going to pay for golf. I'm going to pay for ACC football. I'm going to pay for NASCAR. I'm going to pay, whatever. And all of a sudden you're getting people to your channel. And to get that right, just like FS1 and NBCSN did to build up their channels and all this stuff, you've got to overpay. So if this is what people are paying for the Xfinity Series, what are people going to pay for Cup? Is that going to be more money? What are people going to pay for the reported potential streaming only option for the Cup Series in the middle of the season if they do the 6-race package?
Mm-hmm.
Truck Series, what happens with that? So NASCAR, by having a thriving live sport that, look, I mean, if the ratings are they what they once were? No, but enough people watch and it's enough of a dedicated fan base every week that that's going to get people excited about those numbers.
Yeah. Agreed. I went back and we were talking about the Truck Series race last night. I went back and looked at the average viewers for Truck Series races. It's like 600,000. That's a pretty good number for a 3rd-tier series. I mean, that frankly, a lot of other sports would love to have. And I think that, there was an interesting comment this week in a press conference we were part of the other day. And I think it's true is that you are a fan of the Truck Series, where it's going to be. You know, like, it's going to be largely on FS1. Occasionally it's on Big Fox, but mostly it's on FS1. If you're a fan of the Xfinity series, you know where you're going to find it now. And I think that's good. And I think you bring in more partners. And it's going to be interesting to see how the cohesion and everything like that. But I think this is a good move. I think this is an opportunity to bring more in there. And I think NASCAR, we've both written about it quite a bit. I think NASCAR's in a really good spot right now when it comes to television ratings, and the numbers that are going to come in for this TV contract, I think, are going to surprise some folks.
All right, are we forgetting anything else before we talk about the good race poll? Because I don't want to get to the end of the podcast and be like, dang it, can't believe we forgot to talk about that.
We had everything on my list.
Okay.
You want to talk about Formula One quick?
What about it? We haven't talked about Formula One for.
I know. It's so bad. I had a lot. I was gonna bring this up last week, and I didn't, because we just got wrapped up with everything else. And then I actually had so many people kind of ask me about it today. It's like, it's so bad. It's not even compelling. Like, for a fleeting second today, you're like, okay, Max is starting sixth. This could be interesting. And now 7 laps and it's over, and it's not good. There's nothing compelling, which is, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, Max has now won 8 in a row.
8 in a row.
Red Bull's won 13 in a row.
Yep, all 12 this year.
And there's just it's like Leclerc gets the pole because Max has a penalty, and Checo, Max's Red Bull teammate, passes Leclerc before the first lap's half even over. And then Max passes Checo and wins by 29 seconds or something like that. It's just not even compelling. I mean, you could sort of twist yourself into like, oh, who's going to get second in the constructors standings and stuff. But and look, I mean, there's been dominant seasons before, but this is really bad timing for F1.
Yeah, and I think
really bad timing. You just had all this hype. You got the American audience to take a look, and the 2021 battle was one for the ages, and it's been followed up by just relentless domination by a guy who's really not super, likable, or doesn't really care about what people think of him. And so it's just like, oh, well, okay. Like, they've got a really good car. Nobody's going to catch him. Might win every race this year unless something weird happens. But now they're going to their summer break. I don't know, man. Just doesn't, not great for F1 at the moment.
No, and I don't see any way it's going to change. I mean, the mid-pack battle's fun because it seems like there's like 3 or 4 teams that are kind of jockeying around, and it seems like on a given week you never know, and that's fine. But watching a race when you know what's going to happen, it's not fun. And I know this is the history of Formula One. I get it. Like, I know the history of Formula One. You have one team and driver dominate, but often though there is somebody else like in the ballpark, whether it's his teammate or somebody else with a different team, and at least can push them to some degree, and it's not even the case. And so I think part of it too is that 2021 was so incredible, and it was so dramatic, and you didn't know. You watched the race, and you're like, man, who's going to win this week? Is it going to be a Red Bull? Is it one of the 2 Red Bull guys, or is it going to be one of the 2 Mercedes guys? You at least it felt unpredictable to some level. And this year it's not, and it's just bad. And I don't think it's going to change. Again, that's the problem. There's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, one thing that might not change is your dominance in the Was It a Good Race poll, even though I am slowly chipping away.
Yeah. I just need to win one week out of the next 4 to clinch a tie for the regular season title.
But the thing is, you've been your magic number's been stuck at 1 for a while now.
Listen, Jeff, we're trying to be optimistic here. Let's not try to,
Big Joe Wall sent me the numbers. It's 12-9 you right now. However, you have a huge advantage in the tiebreaker. So I'm going to have to win out. I'm going to have to sweep the next 4 weeks of the regular season to get the regular season championship after you had such a big lead. However, I have been making gains. So how's this going to play out with Richmond? I'm going to guess 50%.
Okay,
because that's pretty low, which is pretty low. But I think it was a mostly boring race. I looked up the one Richmond race that had no natural cautions at all in 2020, I think. That race was 44%. Then the most recent race with no natural cautions last year. Now this one had one. The Road America race, I think, got like 54%.
Okay.
So I'm kind of going in the middle, and I'm just going to say 50 and hope for the best and hope the number just sort of falls around my way, and I pick up another win and keep putting the pressure on to try to make a very, very unlikely run here in the regular season. Was a good race pole championship.
Okay, two things. Do we know what the spring race this year got?
Sure. I'll keep stalling,
Okay.
and I'll.
And then the other question I have for you: what are we doing for a wager? Are we doing anything for playoff wagers or anything? We talked about that last week. And I'm not. Someone mentioned like shaving my head, or there is no chance in hell I'm ever shaving my head.
I think it was Aaron Bearden. I believe it was him. Sorry if I'm giving credit to the wrong person here.
We love Aaron, so thanks, Aaron.
I think he said that the winner gets to choose the loser's outfit for Daytona 500 race day next year.
Oh, that's pretty good. Whoa. Wow. That's Daytona 500 though? That'd be like media day or something?
No, there's not enough consequences on that.
Okay. You know what? If you're down for that, I'm down for that.
Well, you're gonna make me dress in some like bright orange suit that you have,
and you're
something.
Gonna make me dress like a dad of drives a suburban minivan and three.
I wish I had
rats.
a minivan. It would be a lot easier than the car I drive right now. Getting
so
the kids in and out. But
New Balance sneakers and cargo shorts and ill-fitting
cargo shorts. When have I ever wore shorts to a
I'm just saying like a dad's look is in general.
No, it's not cargo shorts. It's Target's best athleisure wear. Like I go to Target and I buy like the golf pants that kind of look like slacks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then I buy like cheap polo shirts that look like cheap polo shirts. And I tuck it in, throw a belt on, wear my sneakers.
Yeah.
Race day outfit.
Suburban dad, baby.
And I can make you wear a hat. A Travis Matthew hat.
I wear hats all the time.
Yeah, like a baseball cap type thing. Like my striped hat.
All right. I will I'll be down for this bet. We'll go finalize the
it actually makes me super nervous. So I don't want to be walking around Daytona 500 on race day wearing some like purple suit with like frills on it that you have or whatever, and you probably made me wear like that stupid cap that you have. Like, what do you call those caps?
Stupid cap?
Well, sorry, I don't know the name of it. I thought it was called stupid cap.
My little black one that I like, or the little white
one?
one?
Yeah, that, right.
I got two of those. Yeah, I got a fedora.
What is that called?
There's no like it's a
you
little
look like a
cap
newsboy from like the musical Newsies.
Driving caps. Yeah, I got a fedora.
Okay. It's supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're trying to be from the musical Newsies?
Do you want a fedora? I'll give you my fedora.
No, but please don't make me wear your Merce.
Oh, the Merce is part of the outfit. The Merce, the monogrammed Merce is part of the outfit.
I don't like this bet anymore.
I'm going to dress like a suburban dad. I mean, it's,
Why? You would just look normal. You wouldn't look super flashy. Jordan Bianchi, super flashy.
I'm not wearing anything flashy today. That's pretty straightforward.
That's because it was like hotter than the surface of the sun there, so you couldn't wear your suit.
I left my sports coat in the car today. I felt bad. I lifted up my car.
Well, thank you for upholding the professionalism from the Athletic by not even wearing a t-shirt. A t-shirt.
Designer t-shirt, by the way. Don't ask.
Doesn't matter if it's a designer t-shirt. I wear a designer. Somebody designed the t-shirt that I wear at Target. Is that a designer t-shirt? Somebody designed it.
Touche. All right, listen. You pick the bet. I'm down with it. I like that idea. It's good. It's kind of fun.
All right, I'll do it. It's one day in my life. I've worn a Happy Daytona Day hat at Daytona 500 before, so I can.
So it's just whoever wins the playoffs between this head to head.
Yes, and the
And the
regular season
tiebreaker-
champion, the regular season champion starts with
plus
one.
one.
Plus
Got it.
one.
Which
They're
is
up
good. Okay.
1-0 to start the.
And then the tiebreaker is margin. Is that
Yeah.
okay? I just want to make sure we got all the particulars. That's cool. I'm down with that. I love
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Oh man, the wheels are spinning on what I'm gonna make you wear. I hope it's like a 90. I hope I win and it's like a 95-degree like Daytona day. I'm gonna make you wear like a
Why do you think you're
leisure
going to win?
collie-
I'm coming on strong, buddy. You've coughed up your lead. I'm within range. I'm like
I'm doing
Chase
it.
Elliott sneaking
No,
back in the
no.
picture. You don't even
This
think I'm
is-
a contender.
This
Here I
is like
come, buddy.
Chad Knaus circa like 2010 over here. Like we've written off the month of August because we don't care. We're saving our best stuff for the playoffs. We don't care about these weeks. Like we're just saving
Wait,
our
did
good
you even
stuff.
make your guess?
No,
for
I haven't got
Richmond?
there yet.
Oh
No,
my
you were gonna look up the
God.
number. You were gonna look up the number.
Oh, right. That's right. I was. I'm
Yeah, see,
sorry.
this
I'm
is
sorry.
what I deal with on a regular basis. Is he like snaps at me for not doing something because he forgot to do something. This happens all the time.
Okay, crap. I might be in trouble here.
Can I give you? Hang on. I'm gonna. My guess is gonna be. She's gonna be around 40. So is that?
No,
right.
Spring Richmond got 80.1.
Oh,
Yeah,
what did we?
80.1.
What the hell happened in the spring?
I don't know.
What the heck? I gotta go back and look. What?
I don't
what am
know.
missing?
People like that strategy. We don't like strategy. Everybody else likes the strategy.
No, I like the strategy. I said I love the strategy. I love the strategy.
You're saying it's going to be 40% and the spring one
Not
was
anymore.
80.
No, that was not the official guess.
Oh.
That was not. I said I was thinking 40-ish because I wanted to hear the number first. Now that I hear that though, I'm going the other way. I'm gonna go 62, 63.
Oh, I hate this.
See, you're not my fault. You were not smart enough. Let me take that back. That's mean. It's not my fault. You didn't think about doing enough research and looking at the previous race.
I looked at a race that I thought was comparable. So
I'm taking 62.
you said 63.
I'm fine. 63, whatever it is.
Okay.
That's fine.
As always, thank you to Big Joe Wall for calculating this. One kind of interesting thing, then we'll get off this. I'm sure people are tired of listening to this part. We both have very similar average misses. Like I've had some huge misses, so my average is higher.
Yeah.
But like we both have exactly 8 guesses that have been within 5 points of the poll result. You've missed by an average of 8.2. I've missed by an average of 9.8. So we're both within 10% of like the guesses. So we're not terrible.
Good. No, I think that's good.
Yeah, but 50 versus 63, big week to help see if we can keep this alive. All right, Michigan next week. I will be there. Excited about that. Michigan's, I think it's one of the better. It's certainly
good.
Yeah, I mean, with the new car, should be a good show. Should be fun.
Looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. Thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on the Teardown. See you, everybody.